Good morning and welcome to Conversations here on Third Planet Network. This morning I am talking to diabetes advocate Scott Johnson. And Scott, I am so glad that you got up early this morning to be with me. And I don't know about you, but I am still drinking some coffee to wake up a little bit. Oh, I can't hear you, Scott.
I did my button again. I'm sorry, Tammy. Um, it's funny you should show your mug because I am a little infamous for my mug. Now, I'm not a coffee guy, I'm a Diet Coke guy, but cheers. So I'm glad we got that out of the way because now I can take drinks of it and I don't have to introduce the giant head size mug of
Head
Diet
size
Coke.
mug. Okay,
But
so there we go.
I did do the healthy thing, and I had two big, tall glasses of water first thing when I woke up. So that's something, a new thing I'm trying to do is get some water in me before I indulge in my Diet Coke addiction.
Well, and I think it's all about, this is me because I've definitely, over the years, I'm always kind of up and down with weight and health and things of that nature, and I'm trying to take a different mindset to things, I think as I age, I'm realizing that it's kind of moderation and not all at once, because a lot of times I'll do the infamous, okay, I'm going to get rid of everything. No more Coke, no more ho-hos, no more pizza, no more nothing, and I'm going to be out there working out, 5 days a week. And then what happens? I fall off the wagon. I'm sitting face down in a box of ho-hos, and, everything's gone awry. So, I like the concept of, starting out your morning, trying something new, working those types of things into your day. So,
Yeah.
well, I'm glad that's where you've gone with everything. And so why don't we jump into, you have this great blog called Scott's Diabetes, and you were probably one of the very first diabetes blogs that I ended up finding after my son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So probably about 6 months after diagnosis, when I started to kind of come out of that fog of, oh gosh, what are we going to do? How do I do this math? All that kind of fun stuff. I ended up going online and kind of searching, and yours was one of the very first blogs I found. And it's one of the blogs that I still continue to read and look at. And, could you maybe tell us a little bit about, when were you diagnosed? When did you start writing? How has that blog really helped you in your process?
Sure, thank you. Um,
Absolutely.
so I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in 1980. I was 5 years old at the time, and I think as a child, kids, in my opinion, have this just really beautiful, ignorant resilience, and uh, diabetes was just a thing that I had to deal with, and I just wanted to do the whatever I had to do to get back to playing with my GI Joe or Hot Wheels or whatever it was at the time, right? And the kind of I want to say the word weight, but that sounds more grim than I intend. But the weight of diabetes and what that means on a day-to-day level really didn't start to sink in for me until I became an adult and started raising a family of my own and that kind of thing. And I found that it was really difficult to wrestle with some of the mental and psychological aspects of diabetes. And uh, for me, writing about that and kind of using writing as a tool to explore some of those thoughts and feelings was really beneficial for me. And I just got lucky with the timing as I started to enjoy that writing. It was right around the same time that some of the tools that we use today, like Blogger and WordPress, became available. So, uh, I didn't have to code my website in the HTML, and I did do some of that for a while, but that made it really hard, and there was a big barrier in terms of getting things out of my brain and off my heart and out there for the world. And um, you might ask about why out there for the world and not in just a private journal. And I kind of wanted something that maybe my family could look back on, or that my family could look at and see that I'm working hard at this diabetes thing, and even if I run into trouble, or there's a lot of misconceptions about diabetes from the people around that that make judgments, or just don't understand what we go through, or the decisions we make. And so I kind of wanted a place where people could go and see a little bit more inside, and see, like, it's not quite as easy as what people think. There's a lot that happens, and so that's why I decided to do it in a more public place, and then to be able to connect with others, and I mean, that was just a really beautiful thing, really beautiful thing.
Well, Scott, I think one of the things that really attracted me to your blog was not only your transparency, but you were very willing to talk about those icky feelings that, whether it's the person with diabetes, and I feel those feelings as the parent of a child with diabetes sometimes, and in managing through the numbers, and what do the numbers mean, and why these are bad numbers, or how to take bad out of that number, or because all that can really play heavily psychologically on the person with diabetes, and having to be able to do that day in and day out. And consistently as a parent, one of the things I want to be able to do is to try to find a way to, my son's 15, in 3 more years he's 18, he's off on his own. What tools can I give him? How can I help him to not only manage diabetes, but manage that psychological piece? And I think that's one of the things I really appreciated. And I just recently, you wrote an article on your blog that talks about you had the highest A1C in 6 years.
Yeah.
And I really loved reading that, because one of the first statements that you made in that article talked about how, okay, here comes some of the psychological trauma and stuff that I'm going to have to deal with as I walk into this appointment with my doctor. And I think that's one of the great things about this, because it's not an easy ride. So, maybe you can speak to why you're so transparent. You have you have a list of all your A1Cs on your website. You talk very openly and candidly about what you're going through.
Well, I think it's one of the most important things for me. One of the biggest benefits I get out of the online community out there is just knowing that I'm not alone, and knowing that that the things that I struggle with are the same things that many other people struggle with. And so when I go to my doctor's appointments, and we have very limited time, and that's not, we're not happy with that. Our clinicians and doctors and caregivers are not happy with that. Like, no one's happy with the situation we have, and so they're forced to kind of cram all of this information into these very short appointments, and they give us these formulas, right? Okay, do this, and you should see these results. Put in this formula, and this is the expected result. And then I go home, and I do this, and I don't see that result. And then you get this weird, almost negative self-talk, and like, gosh, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? Am I strange? There's all this negative, sometimes dark language that happens in our heads.
Right,
And
right.
so for me to be able to see that no, that's not, you know, that's normal. That's a normal part of life with type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. I should generalize a little more there. It's normal with diabetes to struggle with all of the things that I struggle with. And so I think it would be a disservice for me to paint the picture that I have it all figured out. I think it's a much more powerful story to let people know that, you know, even after 30 some years, I still struggle with it. You know, I play basketball on Saturday mornings, and so I've had diabetes for 30 some years, and I've been playing basketball on Saturday mornings for a while now too, and I still struggle on Saturday mornings when I wake up to decide, you know, do I eat breakfast and get some fuel in my tank to fuel my exercise, but then I'm dealing with insulin on board, or do I decide to not eat breakfast so that I don't have all these variables in my, you know, like you would think I would have all that figured out, but I don't, and that's also a normal thing. Like this is a normal thing for those of us with diabetes. Um, so I think it's important for me to stay as real as I can with all of that, and to let people see that those struggles are there, and that it's, I think for most of us that have lived with diabetes for a time, um, the it's those inside kind of psychological and mental struggles that are the hard parts. It's not the needle pokes and the
Right.
all of the equipment and stuff. That stuff sucks too. You kind of figure out ways to make that part easier, and you get used to those. So I have to share the full story, and I've had plenty of successes along with all of the struggles too. I don't want it to sound like, you know, it's all struggle, right?
Right. You know, but you're exactly right, and you've had some great successes, and I think, you know, I think it by sharing all of those, you make this a real journey for everyone involved, and you know my son, he knows that I watch your blog a lot, and I think he appreciates being able to see that someone, you know, Brandon's only been dealing with this going on 3 years. So I think for him to see someone that's been dealing with it for 30 years, has wonderful days and really crappy days, that gives him, you know, a lot of insight. I think it gives him the ability to, you want to reach out to other people. I think it gives him the understanding that, okay, I'm really not that bad at this, that, you know, if I'm 15 and struggling with it, and someone else that's been struggling with it for you know, a lot longer, but I can still go on and have those great days. I think it's a great service to all of us, really, you know, being a part of this community, and you know, and maybe that's something you can talk about. You know, how do you manage those days that are difficult mentally, like you talked about that dark language, and get to those good days? How are you able to work through all of that?
Well, I think that there are a few different ways and kind of a few different levels, I guess, of what's going on. So sometimes it's as easy as just engaging with other people in that online community, right? And there's a million different ways to do that, depending on, you know, whatever floats your boat, right? If you enjoy reading blogs, you know, go read some blogs. If you enjoy being interactive on Twitter, do that. If Facebook's your thing, do that. Like, just get out there and talk with people, and oftentimes that helps me. But then there are also times where I just need some space inside my own head to just kind of be there for a while, and be okay with feeling the way I'm feeling, and that's okay too, right? And there are days where I feel like diabetes has just run me over, and I need to just, you know, if I need to take a nap in the afternoon or whatever, and like, we're all in different places I feel like such a spoiled brat when I say, "Oh, take a nap in the afternoon," and I'm thinking about, like, these people who, all of you who are, that are stuck in an office or something like that. Like, the basic, what it comes down to, though, is like there are days when we do what we have to do to power through. There are days we, um, when we give ourselves permission to say, "You know what, world? I need some me time
Right, right.
to deal with what's going on," and that doesn't make us weak or soft, or it actually, I think, makes us stronger to acknowledge that, you know, um, I need some me time.
Hmm. Hmm. And I'm really glad that you said that, because I think that's something that we struggle with, is giving ourselves permission to take care of ourselves. I know as a caregiver, that's an area that I struggle in. I talked with you about how I still, after almost 2.5 years, I still do that 2 a.m. check for my son.
Hmm.
But I still need to figure out, okay, there's days where I'm going to need that full 6, 8 hours of sleep. So how do I do that? And I should not feel bad about doing that. Just like you should not feel bad about, okay, today I'm taking a nap in the afternoon. And that permission piece. And I think when we see more people like you saying it's okay to do this, and that I'm going to give myself some time to heal, or I'm going to give myself some time to rest, I think the more that we can see this, and we can see those words or hear those words said, that it's okay, this doesn't make me weak to do this, I think that what you're doing is it's a great service to so many people going through diabetes. And so I'm so glad that the diabetes online community is here, and it's really a rich community. And like you said, I mean, it could be reading something, it could be listening to something, it could be participating in a forum. At whatever level you're prepared to participate, I think it's such a great place to participate. And
I
you
get
know,
I get so much I get so much inspiration from the community, and it comes in many different ways. That word inspiration is a big word, and when people think of it of inspiration, right? We think of the big inspirational stories that we hear. Like, for example, Sebastian Sasseville is a person with type 1 diabetes who's currently running across Canada. Right? Yeah. I mean, so Sebastian is an amazing person, an amazing inspirational athlete with type 1 diabetes. And this thing he's doing is just one of many incredible athletic accomplishments that he's done. And I get a lot of inspiration from him, but I also get inspiration uh, from everyone out there who can make it through a work day in one piece. And like, I don't know anyone out there whose only responsibility is managing diabetes. Like, we all have all this other stuff we're doing, and I think we often don't give ourselves enough credit for how well we do with everything else we have going on. And part of that is the nature of diabetes management, right? We're always troubleshooting. We're always trying to uh, improve our management, our numbers, trying to kind of tighten the rein a little bit. Um, and I think that is a little bit scary sometimes, right? Because there's a scary piece about always having room to improve. Oh, I'm not sure if we are still connected. I lost your video there, Tami. There we go. Looks like you're coming back now. All right. Now I got you back.
oh, there we go.
Good.
I'm not sure what happened, but I'm glad you're there.
Yep. It's the wonders of technology, right?
Yes, that's for sure. So the last thing I heard, you were talking about Sebastian and how inspiring he was for what he was doing, but then also how, none of us are responsible for just taking care of diabetes and getting through a day. So I'll let you finish your.
Yeah, yeah. And so I think that the nature of diabetes management is all, we're always troubleshooting. We're always trying to kind of uh, figure out what we can do just a little bit better, right? So we're always asking these questions of what can I do a little better? What can I do a little bit better? How can I improve on what I'm doing now? And that's good to a degree, but I think we need to do a better job of saying, you know what, I'm doing pretty darn good at this diabetes thing just in general, like looking at what it takes to manage diabetes, considering how maybe a person without diabetes, how like a fully functioning endocrine system works, and then comparing that to what we do.
Right.
I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing to me how well we do, and I think that's my mission over the coming years is to evangelize
I love it.
for how well you guys do, right? Like how well you are doing at managing diabetes is amazing to me. And the fact that you do it in addition to managing everything else in your life, rock star.
You know what, and I love that you said that because I just look at us, Brandon and I, in our journey in 2.5 years, and I remember sitting in the hospital, and they started to explain how I needed to figure out how much insulin he needed, and I thought, oh my gosh, fifth grade math was a struggle for me, and now I have to do math to keep my son alive, and you're going to send me home with him? Oh my gosh, so this was, but where we're at now, and how we're able to manage it, it's almost a lifetime of difference within that. And I think you're right, being able to function as a pancreas on a day-to-day basis is kind of an amazing feat for all of us. And and I think you're right. I think we need to really support everyone in this process, and encourage everything that they're doing on a day-to-day basis, whether it's being a parent and having diabetes, or going to work, or going to school, learning, and
Or just doing whatever it is you do on your day-to-day basis, even just navigating diabetes and making it through your day in one piece is amazing.
is amazing.
We don't give ourselves enough credit. What we do at the end of the day is we often beat ourselves up for what we did wrong or what we didn't do good enough.
Right.
And I'm not saying that we need to sit back and say, I'm doing all right. Like, there's no need to. No, we do need to. We always need to be working to improve our situation, right? But I think we'll be so much better off if we can just give ourselves a little pat on the back to just recognize the hard work that diabetes is and put into perspective what it is exactly we're doing.
Right. Do you think that, I would assume that, being married, having a wife, having children, you've kind of had this team already set with you. How important do you think it has been to build this team of supporters around you, whether it's your family, your endocrine team, the Diabetes Online community? How important has that been in your success of being able to really pat yourself on your own back?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's been very important. I think it's also, I'm trying to think, like, we're all in different spots with that. I look at my situation. I feel really blessed. I think of, my mom and dad when they were when they were raising me, they worked really, really hard to make sure I didn't feel different because of my diabetes, and that's a tough thing. It took a lot of extra work, and so even today, I'm approaching 40 years old pretty soon, and my dad is one of the biggest supporters ever, and I think because of what we went through in that parent-child relationship, he has in some ways a closer relationship to me and my diabetes than perhaps my wife and my kids, right? Because they see a different perspective of that. But then my wife and my kids, they fill a different emotional need or support need than my father can. And my healthcare team, of course, they fill a different need. So and the online community fills a whole different need. So I think what it's all about, in my opinion, is working with the support system you have available around you to fill whatever kind of pockets of need that you have, and you have to be, I think, a little bit self-explorative, which is a scary and hard thing, and also be able to communicate a little bit. And I think for those that don't have a support system around them in person, that there's no the online stuff, I don't think, can ever really replace an in-person support network. It's a really big piece, but at the same time, my online support fills a role that my family, my people with diabetes that understand me at a level that even my father can't understand as much as he wants to and would love to. I guess what I'm saying is that there's a place for all of it.
Right.
I also want to encourage those who maybe are in a different situation with their families or don't have people around them that are as supportive and loving, to use those in the online community as best they can to fill those gaps. And I think that would be really helpful.
I agree. There's some. This was Brandon's third year going to diabetes camp, and what I saw this year were these incredible relationships that he made in person that he's continued. So every day since camp, he's Skyping or texting or calling or talking or playing a video game online with someone in some part of Indiana that has diabetes. And now he has a friend that he just found in the area. They've got plans on Sunday. And there's something in that connection that, unfortunately, me as his mother, I will never have. I will never understand that connection that he has with people with diabetes. But it's what I've seen in the change in him by having those relationships is pretty remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you can probably mimic that. But I think you're right. There's so many tools out there for us, whether it's a Facebook forum that's just for parents of children with diabetes, or all these other places where you can go and kind of get support. And I think it's a great place for us to really look at. And since we're kind of winding down, and one of the things that I did ask of you was to, I think one of the greatest resources that you have is definitely your blog, which is at www.scottsdiabetes.com. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
And I encourage anybody to go there because there's so much information, and just the way you write and the way you speak, you welcome people into your universe. Are there any other resources that you typically like to go to or explore? Is there that one place that you always go to that you'd like to share with others?
So it's it's a tough question, right? Because there's such a wide range of resources out there. So it's a challenging question to answer, but I think for parents and caregivers, I like to recommend the childrenwithdiabetes.com website and resource. So that's a good place for anyone kind of above the teen and childhood years. I think one good place to start is 2diabetes.org. So that's tudiabetes.org. That's a community network and forum run by the Diabetes Hands Foundation. It's a really welcoming place with lots of people to offer just a welcoming support. And then there's the DSMA Twitter chat on Wednesday nights. If you're into Twitter, that's a great place to check out, and lots of people to connect with there. And then even just searching for diabetes blogs on Google is another good place to start. But it can be a little overwhelming finding all of these resources out there, and so I like to tell people that it does take a bit of a time investment to just explore it and invest your time where you get a return on that investment. So if you go out and you are reading something that just doesn't resonate with you, don't feel obligated to go back. Don't feel like you have to go back and stay there or check it out, or move on to something else, or keep looking until you find something that really hits home, because that's out there. There are so many people with diabetes online communicating and sharing their stories, that you will find someone that you connect with out there.
You know what? I love that advice. I think that's such great advice, because there are so many tools out there. There's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Mike Sevilla. You probably know him.
Yeah.
And I had him on my show once, and he said he always likes to, because he's hot into social media, and he said one of the things that he really likes to share with people is the diabetes online community, because it is so rich and vast. So we're lucky to be in an area where you can really find what fits for your needs at that time. So Scott, we're at that time. I think I've kept you over.
It's been great.
30 minutes. But you know what? I think this is the third time I've had you on the show, and I will definitely have you on more.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
But it's always fun having you on the show. So I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me this morning with your big cup of Diet Coke.
Cheers.
You have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tami.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone, for joining in, and we'll see you soon.